Alright, so previously in chapter 341, Shidou received a pass from Karasu. And now in chapter 342, we observe the results of that decision. So let's get started and see if Japan can score another goal. This chapter is titled Recapture, and it begins with Isagi and Karasu observing Shidou as he, with his demonic aura, charge up the field. Isagi acknowledges that Shidou is Karasu's main weapon, as the latter exclaims that it's time to blast out this goal load. And what did I just read? I can't even begin to comprehend this sentence right now. Charles then appears next to Isagi, celebrating Shidou's appearance. He states how playing with him in the NEL allowed him to understand that Karasu and Shidou make for a killer duo. And just thinking about the NEL made me realize that that arc was such a long time ago. We thought the PXG game would never end. As two France players charge up at Shidou and he gets past them with ease, barely an inconvenience, Karasu mentions how they need to score before Hugo arrives. And it's funny how he doesn't even register Loki as a threat anymore, and that's saying something. Anyways, he understands that with Shidou, no matter when or where he is strong enough to be exactly who he is. He is a genius of expressing himself. In other words, Shidou is able to assert himself freely, dominating the field. However, Shidou also indiscriminately releases energy to the extent that he influences those around him. We then see Shidou pass the ball to Hiyori as both Rin and Hugo are running up the field. And man, finally, Rin makes a cameo appearance in this chapter after not appearing in the last one. I doubt he will do anything this game, as he doesn't seem to have any narrative importance despite also being a number one. So, take it or leave it, Rin fans, maybe in the next game. As Shidou hits the audience with a devilish grin, Karasu states that appearing with Shidou either means being changed or opposing him, which is the only communication possible. He is a demon to test your ego against. This would be explained later on in this chapter, but in simple terms, you either oppose Shidou or succumb to his way of playing soccer. Meanwhile, Isagi says "I see," as if reading Karasu's mind. He then reflects, understanding that he never managed to have a chemical reaction with Shidou. He ponders on whether it's because he adapts too much to opponents, but then he corrects himself, stating that it's because he devours them to score goals. Unlike himself, Karasu keeps an effective distance from whoever he's working with, approaching when needed to either accept or reject their methods. So from my understanding, Karasu in the end will work with players to bring out their best selves so that they can dominate in the final play, as we saw with Hiyori, but Isagi will work with players so that he can score in the end. So if he were to work with Shidou, a chemical reaction would ensure his own victory instead of Shidou's. As Hiyori sends the ball back to Karasu, Isagi acknowledges Karasu as an independent player with a strong sense of balance. His mindset allows him to resist Shidou's influence, and it's what the team needs right now. In other words, Karasu cannot be corrupted by Shidou's fetishization of football. As Karasu chest traps the ball, he thinks how making sense of Shidou is something only he can pull off, as he's more cool-headed than the others. We witness Shidou gets past another France player, and don't expect me to remember all their names because it's not happening. Karasu, with Metavision activated, whispers, "Beat Isagi," and states how having Shidou as his pawn will bring about his regime change. Now this solidifies his hate agenda, and it reminds me of that one song lyric that accurately describes Isagi's and Karasu's rivalry. And how did it go? Oh right, they say, "They see me rolling, they hating." Yeah, that sounds accurate. Karasu sends a long pass to Shidou, with the latter being ready to smash it in, and ref get him off the field. He's playing a different type of game. But suddenly, Loki appears, surprising Shidou and we the audience. He knows that Shidou is bad news, as he was his master after all. Loki has returned after a week's absence, ladies and gentlemen. Will he finally do something this game other than running randomly across the field and blocking Rin? Karasu is shocked at Loki's appearance. But, why are you surprised? This dude is known for being fast. You should have expected this. Shidou is unfazed, however, and just grips onto Loki, pause, stating that it's still just a 50-50 dead heat. Whoever touches it first wins. As the ball almost reaches the two of them, Barou suddenly appears, stealing it, his lion aura in full view. He side-eyes Shidou with Predator Eye activated, stating that it's him, the one replacing Isagi as Blue Lock's new king. As he then shoots the ball over Loki and Shidou, fast enough that France's goalkeeper cannot respond, it goes in, equalizing the game. Meanwhile, throughout all this, Isagi acknowledges how Barou hunted Shidou as Barou screams in celebration, with the announcers calling it a super goal, a blistering shot to tie the game. Barou has thrown down the counter-attack gauntlet. With the score now being 2-2, we see Ryu and IQ celebrating, the only contributions they will ever make through this game, but Isagi is left stunned. He concludes that Barou gave up on him because he was useless and switched to devouring Shidou since the hottest part of the field is around Karasu. During his narration, we see Shidou being pissed, livid, veins popping. He gives credit to Barou's goal but calls him out, referring to him as a hyena because he stole his goal opportunity. But Barou is unfazed, telling him to bite back if he doesn't like it. And I'm enjoying this beef because to this day, Barou deserved to be number 3 in Blue Lock. According to Isagi, the two jokers are devouring each other and the one who tamed them is Karasu, the new ruler. We then switch over to Karasu. We were just talking about you, who is feeling himself, but let's be for real. He did not expect Barou to show up. He states that it's his turn in the spotlight. Isagi is having an internal panic attack, wondering if the team is stronger than when he was number 1. Is he losing his place? Because Blue Lock is currently falling into Karasu's hands. We then witness this cool double panel of Karasu looking behind him with a crow on his shoulder and the two jokers right in front of him. And this makes for a good thumbnail. Meanwhile, France's coach Rodin calls over Loki and Hugo. He asks them that if they lose here, do they think they can win the World Cup? And why does he look like he wanna fight them? He's cracking his knuckles. Hugo says no because Loki can't score a suitable goal. And he's speaking for all of us. Loki just says that Hugo's passes just suck and this is just immature, lack of accountability. This is the number 1 new Gen 11 player, by the way. Rodin announces that he's changing the formation, wanting them to make bolder attacks and show off their gifts. And I can already see Blue Lock losing this game with a 2 or 3 goal difference. France is taking off the kid gloves. Loki and Hugo agree, with the former stating how the coach doesn't need to tell him that. But are you sure? Because we expected you to score a goal by now. As the game restarts, Loki sends a pass to Hugo with the narrative text stating that Vivian, that's his name? That Vivian Hugo knows that being born in the same era and country as Loki and meeting him was part of his destiny. The chapter then ends with a glimpse of their past, implying that the next chapter will showcase their backstories, as chapter 343 is apparently titled Vivian Hugo. Overall, this was an amazing chapter. Barou's goal was just spectacular. I just love every time we get to see him in the manga. His character design and lion aura makes the art stand out a lot. And I also like the rivalry aspect between him and Shidou, which is something I was hoping for given their NEL standings. Hopefully this rivalry kind of, persists in the U20 match, the U20 arc. I want to see them constantly stealing their goals, each other's goal attempts. But enough Barou Glaze. Hopefully after this chapter we get to see Hugo and Loki go all out against Blue Lock. It's implied anyway, because I still believe there's more to their skill set and performance, especially Hugo as well, because Kaiser has like the Kaiser impact and Lorenzo has his zombie dribbling. So I don't think Hugo has like a specific ability yet, but also Loki has been disappointing. He's probably not taking this match as seriously But now that Japan is showing to the world that they can give a challenge to the supposed strongest team in the world, he has to protect his reputation. Also, Karasu is currently the MVP of this match. I mean, it's a no-brainer. He has like 2 assists, right? He has 2 assists in this game, let's be real. And he's slowly taking Isagi's place as the centerpiece for Blue Lock. And I just gotta ask, where was this performance in the NEL? I don't know, but I can't deny he's a solid player. He was the former number 3 after all. Now, what him and Isagi's rivalry will lead to in the future, I can't really say. We just gotta see this carry out. But I do hope this forces Isagi to evolve in his skills and go solo, learning to work on his own and pretty much just isolate himself as he works to score goals. But anyways, that's enough for my yap session. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one.